Warning, we are not trained or licensed professionals. Do not take any advice that we give as official doctoral prescribed medical treatment. We only use the name as a means to appreciate cinema as a therapeutic device, not to be confused with drugs, antidepressants, or any other forms of enhancements that you might find in legal states. Please enjoy responsibly.
Additional disclaimer. If the film says we can say it too. So check the film rating, and that will be our episode rating.
Hello, welcome to Film Therapy. I am your host, Jake, and I am joined, as always, by my illustrious co-host.
Hello, I'm Madison.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to this therapeuticness of cinema. This therapeutic cinema.
I don't know about you, but today I felt pretty therapeutic watching this movie.
I did too.
If you remember from last week, we prescribed the movie Frances Ha, and we just finished watching it, so we're excited to talk about it now. So this was directed by Noah Baumbach. Is that how you say his name?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. And who you might have recognized. Jake kindly reminded me of this, that he directed Marriage Story this past year. And
which I have not seen.
Yes.
Whoops.
It's difficult to watch, but
That's why I haven't watched it.
yeah, it's realistic and just not a fun movie, but it's a good movie. If you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so this movie, Frances Ha, stars Greta Gerwig. So she and Noah Baumbach wrote it together, and Noah Baumbach directed it. Greta Gerwig starred in it, along with several other people. The only person I recognized was Adam Driver. He's in this as well as Marriage Story. So they must have a good relationship. And speaking of relationships, so currently Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig are together.
Yeah.
Since 2011. Was probably interesting at the Oscars last year because she was all... Oh, wait. No, she didn't really get recognized for Little Women this year, did she?
No. Crying
It was
shame.
just like Lady Bird a couple, 2 years ago. So, yeah. But I thought she did really good with Little Women, too.
Yeah, I did, too. It was great.
But then Noah Baumbach's ex-wife, her name is Jennifer Jason Leigh. And I recognize this name. She's in
Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and she's in Annihilation. And
she's in Annihilation, yep. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't see that. Is that a show?
No, that's a movie from the 80s.
Oh.
I haven't seen it, believe it or not.
Yep. She plays Stacey Hamilton. I'm on her wiki page. But she was just in a movie I watched last night called Good Time.
I've heard of that.
And she's in the 2017 Twin Peaks.
She is?
Yeah, she's Chantal Hutchins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember who that is. You don't know because you haven't watched it yet.
Nope, but I was like, oh, she's in Twin Peaks. Gotta tell Jake. I haven't seen a lot of this stuff she's in, but she's in a lot of stuff. Well, she's in The Hateful Eight. She plays Daisy.
I haven't seen
that was good. She's really good in that.
I have somebody lent me the DVD and I still haven't watched it and I feel kind of bad.
I like that one. I'm kind of hit or miss with Tarantino,
really?
But oh my gosh, you should see all of her awards she got nominated for and won for that role on the Wikipedia page. It's like 30. So, what did you think about Frances Ha?
Oh boy, here we go. I felt many emotions. I liked it. I definitely liked it.
Okay, good.
At least most of it. There were moments when I'm like, this is absolutely me. 100%.
Oh,
and then and then there's moments when I'm like, oh God, please don't let this be me. Please don't let this be me. Yeah, I definitely felt the secondhand cringe in a lot of scenes, and I just kept thinking like, man, I hope that I don't have to go through this in my late 20s, because there's moments in this movie when I'm like, this is exactly how living with somebody would be. And then I'm like, this is how I hope it's not. So having both of those perspectives was really fascinating. But I thought it was really good. I thought, the performances were great. I loved that it was in black and white. Just black and white cinematography, especially when you do it now, is just I love it. It's great.
I like it too. I guess we can recap it real quick.
Yeah, so Frances lives with her roommate, and then she goes from house to house, and then everybody shows up at the end. The end. There we go. That's the recap. Anyway, so the first note I have.
Oh my gosh. The main character's name is Frances Holliday, which we don't learn her last name until the very end, but she's a 27-year-old aspiring dancer who lives in New York City, and she lives with her best friend from college, Sophie. It starts with Frances. She has this boyfriend. He asks her to move in with him, and she says no because she's still living with Sophie and she doesn't want to break the lease, and so then they end up breaking up. But then Sophie decides that she's going to move out because her other acquaintance friend that she knows found an awesome apartment in Tribeca, which has been her dream to live there. So Sophie leaves Frances, and Frances can't pay for their apartment, so she ends up moving to Chinatown and shares an apartment with her friends Lev, who is Adam Driver, and this guy Benji. And they're really fun. They're like all flirty together and have a good time. Then Sophie and Frances's relationship struggles a little bit as Sophie kind of gets closer with her boyfriend Patch, and Frances doesn't really like Patch, but for an unknown reason, we just kind of assume that she doesn't like him because he takes her away from Frances. He takes Sophie away from Frances. So Frances is trying to become a dancer at this dance company, and she's thinking that she's going to be a dancer during their Christmas show, but then they turn her down, and so she can no longer afford the apartment she's in. Then she goes back to her hometown of Sacramento, where she visits her family and everything and has a good time. Then she comes back to New York and asks this fellow dancer, Rachel, to stay with her for a few weeks, but Rachel's not very keen on that. She's just kind of like, all right, I guess if you need to. So one night, Frances is with Rachel and some of their friends. They talk about Paris and how some of their friends have an apartment there, and Frances decides to go there on just a spur-of-the-moment trip for 2 days, and she does not have the money to afford it. She just goes crazy and basically ends up sleeping the whole time anyway, and comes back and with a lot of regret. She's like, why did I do that? That was dumb. And so then she tries to get some different jobs. She gets a waitress job and a summer RA job at the college that she went to. Oh, and while she's in Paris, she gets a call from Sophie, and Sophie tells her that she and Patch are moving to Japan, which Frances had found out from some other people beforehand, and she was kind of sad that Sophie didn't tell her before. So Sophie and Patch moved to Japan, and she kind of just stalks them on their blog and sees how much fun they're having. And one night, while she's working her waitress job, she sees Sophie and Patch are at the event that she's working, and she overhears them say that they're engaged, and she's freaks out. She's like, what? And they're like, what? You're here? And so they talk, and Sophie and Patch get in a fight, and Sophie ends up staying at Frances's house, and they have this great friendly conversation just like they used to. And just like that, right after that, Frances kind of turns her life around, and she ends up taking a job with the dance company, not as a dancer, but she gets an office job and still can use the studio to choreograph her own show.
Lovely.
And the show ends with her at her dance show. Everyone is there, all of her friends that she's met along the way. So Rachel and Lev and Benji, and of course Sophie and Patch, and her teacher who she admires. It ends with she gets her own apartment finally. So she is writing her name on the mailbox thingy, little slip of paper she puts in her mailbox, and her whole last name doesn't fit, so she has to fold the piece of paper over so it only says Frances Ha on there. And that's the title of the movie.
Right, it makes sense as the title, but why does she do it? For story reasons.
Because it didn't fit.
All right, whatever.
And she doesn't really fit into life.
Gosh. Fine.
Yeah, so I watched this movie probably in like 2014. When did it come out?
2012, I think.
Yeah, 2012. I probably watched it, like 2014 for the first time, and I really liked it. It reminded me of the relationship I had with one of my friends who was a dancer, so I showed it to her, and it's a good like friends movie to watch because it's about her relationship with her friend mostly. That's the overarching storyline there, and she's just so cute. I feel like it's like really childlike. It does things that a child would do throughout the whole movie, and it's nice to see someone that's doing that, you know, because sometimes we forget how to be children and just go like splash in puddles or like play fight. She play fights with her friend and it's so cute. And I just think we all need to bring back some youth into our lives, just like she does.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I only took, well, this is the least amount I've ever took. I only took 4 notes during this entire movie.
Oh, man.
And one of them is a quote. So.
Okay.
So firstly, I loved, what was his name? Benji? Was that his name?
Yeah, Benji.
Yeah, Benji was awesome. He said he's working on a sample script for Gremlins 3. I would totally read that any day of the week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then there's that later scene when him and Francis are talking. Yeah, I think Francis is like really drunk, so then she's like he says, you know, put your foot on the floor, and then that way you won't feel like you won't get the spins all the time as much. And then the quote, when he leaves the room, he says, "I'll leave the door open, so if you need to throw up or cry or something, you can call me." I'm like, that's just like such a sweet thing. I loved that.
Yeah, it is.
All their scenes together were just so great. I loved that.
Yeah, I liked it too. Like they were awkward, but like at the same time, really sweet.
And then the whole montage of her going to Sacramento for the holidays, that just like, there's that one moment when she's like in the kitchen with everybody and just like laughing about something, and I'm like, that just feels like how it feels like when you go home for Christmas. You know, you're just like, you just feel this different sense of euphoria because, you know, you're excited to see everybody, and especially in the moment you really feel it, and then once you go back home you're like, you know, oh, I'm back home. It feels really weird. But during that montage, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how it feels like when you're home. And like, she's like go shopping with her mom, and then she did something with her dad too, and then it's like, you know, it's like when you're away from home and then when you come back and you like go out with your parents to do things and like you see their lifestyle, it just has this like, it has this weird feeling of like, oh, I don't have like a set schedule during this time I'm home, but then when I'm back I'll have it. But like, you have that weird thing in your mind where you're kind of in this weird like limbo for a month or so, if that makes any sense.
Definitely.
And then during the dinner scene with Rachel, I absolutely felt that because I'm like, oh, I felt the cringe because I'm like, oh, she doesn't want to be there. And then I'm like, I hope I'm never in a situation like that where like, I mean, I have been, but like not in the essence where it's like, oh, I have to I'm living with somebody, but they don't really want to live with me, and I can't stand it, and I'm missing my old roommate, and like, I don't want to be in that.
Right, and she's just kind of there talking, and nobody's like talking back to
right.
her. It's so sad.
Right, like she tries like starting the conversation, but no one gives a shit. They're just talking about their own thing. It reminded me a little bit of in Lost in Translation when Scarlett Johansson's with, it's like her husband and Anna Faris and everybody else, and then they're all talking about, I don't know, like whatever the fuck, and then she's just watching Bill Murray because she just doesn't want to be there. Except this is like Greta Gerwig doesn't have anybody to go talk to.
Yeah, she doesn't have anyone.
Yeah, that's all my notes.
Dang.
Yeah, really short today. I just kind of...
Yeah, it's a pretty easy movie.
Yeah, I just kind of sat back and just took it in and just... I enjoyed a lot of it. I definitely felt like the highs and the lows of Frances, because there's that like 20 to 30 minutes in the middle where she's just like feeling aimless and doesn't know what to do, and she doesn't like where she's living, and she's not making a lot of money and all that, and like I'm just like, I feel this too much. Just go away. Just go back to her talking to Benji about Gremlins.
Yeah, it is sad.
There's also there's the scene when she goes to when Sophie leaves, and then she like runs out in her bare feet to go stop her, and she's just like a second too late, and then she like looks down at her feet. I'm just like, I wonder why they focused on her feet.
Maybe because she didn't have her socks on, and she would have if her friend Sophie hadn't told her to take her socks off. Like she always does. Yeah, they're so cute. They describe themselves, or Frances describes their relationship as like being the same person with different hair, which is cute. So cute. And they're like a lesbian married couple who doesn't have sex anymore or something like that. Because they just talk and do everything together, but then slowly grow apart.
Yeah.
But then end up being okay with everything in the end, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's definitely that bittersweet kind of ending. Yeah, when the movie started, I wasn't sure if they were just like roommates or a couple or what they were. I think once they made it clear, that then I was like, oh, okay, I'm down with it. Earlier today, for some reason, I was thinking of Mulholland Drive, and so when the movie started, like, it's just gonna be like Mulholland Drive, except without like the really dark stuff. Like the last 20 minutes of that movie. No, it wasn't quite.
Not quite.
But it was still good. It was still enjoyable.
I like that they have New York like they really showed New York, and
Yeah.
it's kind of gritty, and they're in the subway a lot, and it's kind of juxtaposed with her dancing in a beautiful ballet studio, and it kind of goes together, but at the same time juxtaposed, because New York can be like, you know, so high end, and like with her rich friends Lev and Benji, you know, and Lev's dad is like an artist, and Lev gets all of his money from him or something, and Frances is trying to like strive for that, but she has to work for it, and she does eventually.
Yeah. I don't know what year this takes place in, but I love that Lev and Benji have a little small old piece of crap TV in their room. And that in their apartment. I'm like, that's just great. I want one of those. Like I want one that looks like that. And I want it to work. I want to watch like old shitty TV on it.
You will have one day, I'm sure.
What does that mean? What is that? Are you gonna be like my secret Santa and you're gonna ship me that for Christmas or something? Like,
oh, maybe.
Like, what are you talking about? You're like I know you will, and I'm like, is that just because you're my friend, or is that like is there some kind of hidden meaning here?
I will search Craigslist from now until Christmas.
Just be careful.
Yeah, you're right. I've almost gotten scammed a couple times looking for cats.
You mean like actual cats, or looking for like Cats the Musical?
Oh my god, no, like an actual cat.
Remember that time we were in Walmart, and then when we got home, you're like, did you get cats? And I'm like, no. And then you're like, well, I wanted to watch it. And I'm like, why didn't you fucking tell me that? I would have got it. I was this close to getting it.
No.
Like,
I wouldn't have let you waste your money.
Maddie, it was $5. That's not wasting money.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, it is, but
that's $5 you can spend on a latte.
Now I want coffee. This is the kind of movie where you should watch it in a coffee shop.
Yeah, definitely. It has coffee shop vibes.
There's nothing explicit enough so you could watch it in public, and then also like it just has those vibes, like you said.
Yeah, I actually wrote down like the soundtrack has like European coffee shop vibes.
Yeah, it does. It was really good.
And it's a good soundtrack. It's got some David Bowie, and it's got some like weird stuff.
Wait, when was David Bowie? Did I miss that? When was that?
He had the song at the end, and it was somewhere in the middle as well.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like a static camera most of the time, and not many close-ups. There was like one close-up that was pretty good when she was lying in bed and she had the spins and she turns over and looks at herself in the mirror. I think that's pretty much the closest we ever get. And it's not even like a extreme close-up. It's just kind of like a tight from her shoulders up, maybe.
But it really is the style of the movie. It's just the staticness of it. So I really liked that too.
Me too. Yeah, it kind of seems like almost film schoolish because it was from like so far away and just kind of static and steady and easy. And not to say that filming it was that easy, but
right. I get you.
It feels easy.
Man, New York is really a recurring theme for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the final episode of whenever we dictate season 1 ends, we should go to New York, and that's like the arc of the whole season.
Episode 100.
Yeah, we watched a really shitty movie that doesn't have New York in it very much, and then we watch a movie that's all in New York. It also gave me a little bit of Woody Allen vibes, like Annie Hall a little bit, except it's in black and white. I haven't seen Manhattan, which is another movie he did that is in black and white, but it just kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
I haven't seen that either.
Which one? Annie Hall or Manhattan, or both?
Manhattan. I don't really remember Annie Hall that much.
I watched it last year. I don't remember it that much. Okay. I remember it a little bit.
But yeah, New York might come back up for us in other episodes too.
We don't know. Only time will tell.
We don't know. I don't know. I feel like she didn't really look like she was that good of a dancer.
No.
I mean, like when there's a scene where Lev and Benji ask her to do a dance and she just kind of like flails around like okay. No wonder they didn't want you to be in the Christmas show.
That was my reaction too, like wow, that's not very good at all.
And when she's like warming up one day in the studio, I'm like, is this good dancing? I don't know. So I thought that was kind of funny that she's just kind of an awkward dancer and an awkward person. And
I mean, no disrespect, Greta, we love you immensely, but like, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. And I like how there's scenes of her just sprinting in New York, like just trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, me too.
And she's smiling, her hair's flowing in the wind. She's just having a good old time in New York. She seems like she belongs there even though she struggles.
Yeah, I agree.
The dialogue I feel like is just super random. It's kind of Wes Anderson-y where it's just like the characters don't really acknowledge what the other character is saying. They're not really having a dialogue, but it's more like a conscious stream of thought that they're all having, and they just kind of spit out their words.
That's kind of how my conversations are. Yeah, that's a really fascinating point. I think so. I've tried to sound professional, but I can't form words right now. So you keep going.
Have you had lots of caffeine today?
No, I haven't. I haven't had any. It's really like how we talk, like how we record these episodes. It really is just maybe that doesn't even really come through in the edit. But as far as like as we completely free flow stream of consciousness, this especially unedited, that's just kind of how we are. So if we ever do we ever do a live episode, you're just gonna hear all the bits that we take out. So like,
oh my god, people will be like, what?
They'll be like, why is this so random? What are all these references that you're making?
Yeah, you do your little reference voice, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Damn you, 15s.
Yeah, what is that?
It's Joey.
It's Joey?
Those are both Friends quotes. Both said by Joey.
Gosh.
Both, it's Joey, and damn you, 15s.
This is, it's like a pretty short movie, too. It's only like an hour and 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's with credits, so it's even shorter than that.
I think it's really true to, like, an American girl friendship, you know? Just the fact that in the very beginning, Frances was declining her boyfriend's offer to move in with him because she thought that Sophie would want to renew the lease and she didn't want to leave her behind. But then Sophie ends up moving out, and then Frances is like, oh, okay, I thought we were going to renew the lease. And then Sophie's like, well, we didn't really talk about it. And they're just both like, oh, okay. And it's just like a lack of communication between women, I think, is a really big problem. And if you just tell each other what you're feeling, and if you have an issue with something, you just fight it out real quick, and then you'll be back to being best friends in no time. And that's why I think like guys like get into fist fights, you know, with each other sometimes. They just kind of, if they're angry at each other, they'll just hit it out for a little bit, and then they're fine, you know. And I think girls need to really take a lesson from that, because I've learned that when you're honest and you communicate, it's just so much of a better relationship, and there's no passive aggression, and it really makes a better friendship all around, I think. So that's just my little soapbox there. I wanted to get that out.
I mean, what you said has extreme merit. I mean, it's funny how you say like guys have fist fights, because I haven't done that in a long time.
I was thinking about you, and I was like, I'm sure Jake has never hit anyone.
Oh, no, I certainly have. Believe me, I've gotten in my share of fights. But I mean, in recent years, but then I was going to say it's because I have more female friends than male friends, but I'm like, no, I think it's pretty balanced. Mm-hmm. Like as far as like guys getting into fistfights and stuff like I haven't done that recently, but like especially when you're younger, that's something you do all the time, and then you're just like, let's say like at recess you're having a fight, and then like the end of the day you're just over it, or the next day you're over it,
right?
And if you are and the other person's not, then they're just fucking stupid. Hot take.
Hot take.
Hot take.
I love that. So another thing I wanted to talk about was that she just kind of lies to herself throughout this whole movie. She would kind of lie to others about like what she's doing. She would lie to Sophie, saying she's in the dance company and she's doing her Christmas show and she's going to be touring with the dance company, but really she's not, and she hadn't even been working with them since December, or November maybe, I'm not sure. And I feel like she just kind of lies to others and kind of wants to live that life that she's lying about, but she's lying to herself in the process. And hoping that it will come true, which eventually she realizes that it might not be her exact goal that she's doing, but she's striving towards something and she's feeling good about it. And my boyfriend walked in right when she was getting a job offer from her teacher to take over the desk job at the company, And Frances was like, no, that's okay. I got something else going. Like, I'm going to be dancing with a different company. It's just not here, which is another lie. And Noah was like, my boyfriend was like, he listened to like 5 seconds of the movie. And he's like, she's way too prideful and she needs to accept help. And so I wrote that down, and it's kind of true because she doesn't really like let anyone else in, even though she needs someone. Just because her best friend Sophie is gone and she just is all of a sudden completely alone. Like, sounds like she could have probably talked to her parents, but she kind of lied to them too and was like, no, everything's great. I don't need any money, you know. Or maybe she just felt guilty, or like she didn't want to. I've been through a point where I'm like, I don't want to make it real by saying I need help. Because I feel like a failure, so I'm just gonna say everything's fine and I don't need help. I feel like that's kind of what was going through her mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. I felt that too a lot. I've been through phases like that quite a bit. It's weird that's a thing. That's a societal thing. It's like, oh, if you ask for help, then that means you're a failure. But like, it's true. Yeah. That's how it feels a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
I hope we can get past that soon in America. In the world.
I don't know if you meant like us specifically or like in the podcast or like what.
No.
You meant more on a grand scale. You were thinking more of the betterment
on a grand
of
scale,
the other people,
sure.
not just us. I was sitting here thinking selfishly, like, man, wouldn't that be the day? Get all your emotional problems fixed, and you're just like really, really, really.
Oh man,
good.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. I feel like we're on the cusp of having a like opening up about problems and everything and
yeah, I was thinking earlier today, I was like, I should go to see a therapist.
Yeah, me too. Although it's expensive and I'm not really working a lot right now, so
yeah. So I just wanted to say, like, when Sophie comes back with her boyfriend Patch and she meets Frances while she's being a waitress at this event, and they have their whole nice conversation together. Well, actually, before that, when Sophie and Patch are fighting when they're taking Frances
home,
giving Frances a ride home, it's kind of like weird that all of a sudden Sophie, I mean, she's drunk, but she's all of a sudden like, oh, I love Frances, I hate you, Patch, there's no way we're getting married. And even though they end up getting married, but Sophie hadn't like talked to Frances at all about her being engaged or her even coming back to New York or anything. She just showed up there.
But Frances didn't say anything either.
Yeah. And she was just kind of like, I'm over it, you know, like, I know you're not serious, or I don't want to, like, maybe she didn't want to get her hopes up about their relationship, but it ended up turning out okay for them in the end, even though Sophie did marry Patch, but then Frances got her new job and everything, so she's kind of involved with that. And yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I feel like Sophie was probably holding in a lot of those emotions throughout the years and feeling bad that she hadn't reached out to Frances and everything.
Yeah, I think the part that hit me the most is when she says she's gonna do all these things, and then it's like because you know she's like drunk and they're falling asleep, so she's like I'm gonna leave Patch, I'm gonna, you know, do all these things for myself, and then Frances is like, yeah, go ahead and do it, and then I'm sitting here thinking like, no, I want her to do it, but I know she's not gonna. And then when she gets up in the morning and then she like barely misses her, like I'm like, oh damn it, like there's no way and then she writes her the letter, and then, you know, it's like none of those, that conversation almost didn't happen, and then I'm just like, no, why couldn't you have remembered it?
I know, yeah, she just completely blacked it out.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. Yeah. So that is all I had to say about this movie. I had fun watching it again. If you're enjoying this podcast, you can subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere where you get your podcasts, and it really helps if you rate and review us so that we are more visible on those websites, and let us know how we're doing. So thank you. We appreciate your feedback and your listening. I also wanted to mention we are opening up our Gmail account for anyone to send us their problems they're having right now. And I think we're going to start having a section at the end of each podcast where we read some listener problems, and then we can prescribe some movies that might bring you some solace or try to help you as best we can as your therapists.
So the email is filmtherapypodcasts@gmail.com. Go there and send us an email. Even if all you want is ice cream at 3 a.m, we can't supply you with that, but we can listen to your problems, no matter how minuscule they are. And if they're bigger problems, then maybe you'll go want to see an actual therapist. But we're a good place to start when it comes to film-related problems. My voice just cracked during that. Shit.
Yeah, so email us your problems at filmtherapypodcast@gmail.com.
What, my quiet whisper wasn't good enough?
I know, because I couldn't hear what you're saying.
Oh, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. And so we can move on to talking about what other movies we watched this week, if you want.
I'm ready.
What have you watched?
I have 5 films.
Oh.
So, my cousin informed me that the new Bill and Ted is coming out.
Oh, boy.
And I hadn't seen the originals, believe it or not.
Oh, snap.
We watched the first one a while ago. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to watch Bill and Ted 2 on my own. I think we'll be ready for part 3. So I go to watch Bill and Ted 2, only to find out it kind of parodies an old movie called The Seventh Seal. So I had to go watch that. So I had the Criterion Channel trial from when I watched Eraserhead. And then I watched it, but I couldn't get through it. I thought it was really boring, which is a hot take because it's like a classic from Ingmar Bergman, and a lot of people say it's like an amazing movie, and I'm like, this is so boring. It's like 90 minutes. I watched like a half hour, and I'm like, okay, I've seen enough. If there's a reference I miss in Bill and Ted 2, that's fine. So I watched Bill and Ted 2. I got probably all the 90% of the references to that movie. It was enjoyable, not as fun as the first, but still pretty good. And then my cousin and I were like, okay, Bill and Ted 3 is out. We're going to watch it. But they have it in theaters at the same time because some theaters are open in some places. Nowhere near me, but places in theaters are open. So we're like, okay, we're just going to rent it. And it's $20 to rent it for 2 days. And I'm like, we're not fucking doing that.
Oh my gosh.
So we still haven't watched Bill and Ted 3, but I want to watch it because it's Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Have you seen the originals? What do you think?
Yeah, I have. They were really funny.
Have you seen the new one yet?
I haven't not seen the new one.
Are theaters even open where you're at?
I'm not sure. I don't think in like the town I live in, but maybe in Charlotte they are.
And then since I still had my Criterion trial, I watched this. I've been wanting to see this movie for a long time. I watched this old 70s horror movie called House. It's
God. Yeah, you sent me Snapchats.
It's from Japan. It's very trippy. It was overall it was pretty good, but the moments that were trippy were absolutely amazing. It's about these girls that go to a haunted house and they get killed off one by one because the woman who lives there is like this magical witch, and she's one of the girls' like aunts or grandmas or something. And then eventually the whole basement, like the bottom floor, fills with like lava, and then all of them get killed off in weird ways. One girl gets eaten by a piano. It's great. Watch it. It's from Toho. It's called House. It's the weirdest movie.
So weird.
I put on a David Lynch binge, and this is weirder than anything I've seen of his.
Yeah.
Speaking of David Lynch, the last 2 movies I watched were first I watched Elephant Man. Have you seen that? It was very good. It was very emotional, great acting. It was a very good drama, also in black and white. And then I'm like, okay, I've watched Elephant Man, so next is chronologically is Dune. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch Dune. I did not watch Dune for 8 days. Every single one of those days I woke up like, okay, I'm going to watch Dune today. I'm going to watch it. And then I didn't watch it for 8 days just because scheduling. Because I had something going on, or I had to work, and it just ended up and didn't happen. So I finally watched Dune, and I really wish I loved it because there's good things in it, but overall I just didn't like it very much.
Really?
A lot of people really don't like it. I didn't like hate it or anything. I haven't read any of the books or anything, so I don't, because it's based on a book, so I don't know if that makes any difference. But there's a lot of the music is great, the imagery and like the practical effects and the opticals and all of that are just great. It's pure 80s. I love it. The actors do pretty good. It's Cal MacLachlan is the main character, so this is the first time he was in a movie, and this is the first time he worked with David Lynch, so we know one of the best collaborations of all time.
Yeah.
David Lynch didn't get Final Cut privilege like he does on his other movies, so he's not happy with the theatrical cut. And even though he's been approached to do another version, he's just said no because it was just a bad experience for him. It really felt like 2 movies because like the first half is like one story, then the second half is like a totally different story, and it feels like the middle of that second half is cut entirely because they're just like, oh, I guess it's a spoiler, but oh, 2 years have gone by and these two people fell in love, and they grew, and their power grew, and I'm like, that's a pretty big chunk of information that you're leaving out. So it was really unfortunate that it wasn't very good in the long run, but it was.
Dang it,
I
yeah.
I almost want to rewatch it because the first half is extremely. It's one of the probably the biggest example I've seen. It's extremely exposition heavy. There's so many names, character names, and planets, and backstabbings, and all these things you have to remember, and it just feels really convoluted. So maybe understanding that, or maybe reading the book would help. But I am curious about the new movie because the actors in that are just it's an amazing cast all around. But so is the original.
Yeah.
Because like it has like Patrick Stewart is in it, Sean Young is in it for like 5 minutes, Sting is in it, believe it or not.
What?
And David Lynch has his cameo as he does.
Interesting. I still want to try to watch that.
The original, yeah. If you watch it,
Before the new one
if you
comes
do, let's talk about it because like.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So what did you watch?
That's a good list of movies you got
Thank
there.
you. Why, thank you.
I rewatched a couple. I rewatched Midsummer because all of a sudden on my YouTube feed, some of these videos started popping up there, like things you didn't notice about Midsummer. And so I started watching that, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch it again. And I really enjoyed it the second time. It's just so good. The first 10 minutes, 15 minutes are really not stressful, not sad. Well, I mean, it's sad. I guess that's like the overall term I could use for the first 15 minutes. So I didn't want to watch the first 15 minutes again, but I did anyway, and it didn't hit me as hard as it did in the theater. So that's good. Maybe it's because I'm on antidepressants now. But
I did not know that.
And like the whole movie again was just like super cool. I love watching it, and it is really disturbing, but
Oh boy.
I just love like the fairy tale aspect of it, and it's a lot deeper than what you'd expect.
Wow. I have not seen it. I will never watch it. I'm sorry. But it
Yeah.
sounds, I'm really glad that you find enjoyment in it. That's great. I'm really glad that you
Well,
like
thank
it.
you.
But yeah, that and
Yes.
especially Hereditary, I would never want to watch because I've heard, I know what happens, and I'm like that. I wouldn't be able to handle, would not be able to
It's
handle that.
horrible. I mean, it's good, but it's, yeah, like the things that happen are just insane. I want to rewatch that though. Oh yes, so then I rewatched The Lighthouse too. Because my boyfriend had never seen it, and he just kind of clicked on it. I was like, yeah, okay, let's watch this. I think I liked it better the second time because I had subtitles in the theater. I did not have subtitles, and I was like, what the hell are you saying, Willem Dafoe? So it kind of made a little bit more sense, and I could understand what they're saying. And it's just like really magical, which I like, and kind of horrific, but at the same time, like gross. It's a really gross movie.
Yeah, it is.
Which it's not my favorite thing to watch, but the acting was so good.
It really is. The
And
acting's amazing.
yeah, it's really good. Also in black and white in 4:3 ratio, so that's super artsy and cool.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. And then I also watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay.
Have you seen
No.
that? It was really funny. It came out like in like 2012 maybe. Maybe 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
2010. It came out in 2010, and it's like a horror comedy. It's really funny. It's like these two guys who are going on vacation to their lake house that they're fixing up, and they're going fishing, and they're kind of like these hillbilly guys, backwoodsy type people, and then they run into these college kids who are camping near them. And then they all get freaked out by them, and they think that they're murderers, and all these things keep happening to make them look like murderers when they're really just like the nicest guys. And
That's awesome.
it's really funny. So that was good. That's a good watch. And I think that's on Netflix. Then I also watched Good Time, which I mentioned at the beginning, with Robert Pattinson. Directed by the Safdie brothers, who did Uncut Gems.
Classic movie, which everyone
And,
loves.
Everyone loves, and I hate.
I've never seen it. I was just
Sorry,
trying to get
Lane.
a rise out of you.
Yeah, so I was talking to my friend Lane, and he's like, all right, so I know you don't like Uncut Gems, but you should give Good Time a try. It's the same directors, and It's really good. And so I did enjoy it. It was like a fast paced, but not fast paced. It was really energetic, but not completely an action film, even though there was some action, but the whole time it wasn't action, but it felt like action. So just kind of stressful. I kind of sat there at the edge of my seat like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was really pretty. Like the cinematography and lighting were gorgeous. And the performances were really good. And I like that it was in real time. It just takes place over one night.
It's like before sunset.
This guy just goes on like a crazy journey trying to help his brother out. And it was good. I enjoyed watching it.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
So that is all I watched this week.
I think this was definitely our most low-key episode.
Yeah, it's pretty low-key. But it was fun. I was going to ask what you think we should watch for next week.
Have you seen the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney?
No.
Do you want to watch that?
Sure. Okay.
That's like one of my favorites. It's really, really good. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
From 2009, it's an hour 49 minutes, so not too long. Yeah, so that's what we'll prescribe for next week.
Cool. So go home and watch Up in the Air.
Yeah, go home.
Take your medicine.
Stop saying go home. We're going to do this every time, aren't we?
Every time. I'm going to say it every time.
Maddie, some people are already home listening to us.
Maybe they're not home in spirit. Maybe they need to just take a minute and do a Zen moment and come home to their space.
I need to do that right now. Not even kidding.
Yeah. Moment of silence for our Zen.
Okay. I have reached Zen.
Zen. Very good.
I think we're wrapping it up for now. Thank you for listening. If you stuck around after our Friday the 13th marathon, thank you. We realized it was very weirdly misplaced, only being episodes 2 through 5. Doing a marathon early on probably wasn't the best idea, but at the same time, it's our podcast. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Whatever, dude.
And if you want to stay, then stay, and if you don't, then get the fuck out.
We got lots more movies coming for you, so
yeah,
stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram. And rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. I ran out of space on SoundCloud, so don't know if I will continue posting there or if maybe I'll delete each episode each week and have the new episode posted each week. So if you're listening on SoundCloud, sorry about the delay there. We're on some Amazon thing. Somehow you can get to Amazon Podcast. Not sure how, but we are on Amazon.
It's a little bit weird, but okay. Anywhere you want to listen to us. We also have an email. If you want to email us there, please do. We would love to read and respond to emails.
filmtherapypodcast@gmail.com.
All right, well, thank you for listening. This episode's probably going to be much shorter than the audio itself because we talked about a lot of personal things and tangents. So
stay safe, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Probably.
Hopefully.